So when harvesting tomatoes outside, I like to see skipping every other row, especially with a tight bed spacing like this. This is on a 4-foot center. If you're like at a 6-foot center, I think it's a lot more manageable. But with this so tight, it really makes it hard to harvest, and it gives you a lot of disease pressure. And they won't ripen as fast because your tomatoes aren't getting as much sun into the canopy. So we're harvesting with a 5-gallon bucket, and that's a great way to harvest. So we're just going to go along and pick the tomatoes and set them in. So another thing we're harvesting is we're harvesting for first blush. So that means a tomato like this would be harvested, and then they're just going to go into the wash pack area, and they'll be sorted and just ripen further in there. Another thing we're doing is we're making sure they're removing the stem, and the reason for that is so that that stem doesn't poke the next tomato. And way too often I see people haul a 5-gallon bucket and then just a few of these left in there, which caused damage. So you can kind of see here we're just going along, pulling those out. And the easiest way to pull off the stem if it doesn't already come off is just kind of run your thumb over it like that. And so normally you can actually just have your hands in here, be picking with 2 hands, and if they don't pop, you just run it like this, those will pop off, and then go ahead and just set it right into the basket there. And sometimes if they're really thick, like in this case, those are really thick, and that took me a while to kind of dive in there and try to get it. So I'll just go down one side and come up the other. I feel that's the easiest. And then you make sure you don't miss any, because you're looking through there trying to find that one on the other side, you probably will miss it. So I can see these 2, roll those off, and kind of just work my way down a bit. See these right here. The other thing, if you harvest, if you kind of, as you're harvesting, kind of roll them back a little bit, that puts the tension on that stem and will actually pop that stem off as well. So let me see if I can kind of try to show you how that works. So you kind of got your tomato on your vine like this, and so if you roll it away like that, it will lift off instead of breaking and having to pull it off at a later point. The other thing to do too is that you can carry 3 at a time, so you may not want to come down to your bucket until you have at least your hand full of tomatoes. And depending on the tomato, that may be 2, that may be 3. So another thing to think about here too is the frequency of harvesting. So see, we harvested this tomato, which is almost soft enough. So if you put this at the bottom of your basket with tomatoes like this is going to just put a dent right into this and spoil it. So I like to make sure we're harvesting 3 times a week, especially in the heat. So a Monday, Wednesday, Friday. If it's cooler and it is, sometimes we'll do a Monday, Thursday, and that will still give you kind of the same way of still making sure that you're not having a lot of ripe ones with a lot of unripe ones. Or you only are filling your container half full. So only fill the bucket half full, and that will also prevent that. An alternative way of picking tomatoes like this would be, instead of having buckets, to have a little cart. And these carts are used in the California strawberry industry. And so you actually put your tray right on that cart. That obviously means it's usually more for a high tunnel situation where you have a perfectly level field and a lot cleaner area. And so your cart would just roll down the row, and then you have the trays right on top of it, and you're just harvesting the tomatoes right into that tray. So it'd be kind of like this. Your tray's right here, and you're just harvesting right into it, and then just pushing that down the row. And you can do a couple 100 pounds that way, because you can just keep stacking your trays right on top of each other.